you've all said, and you've heard it through the day, we've had a unified message that's come out of the symposium. Dr. Coffey talked about the NARMS data being a positive decline. I mean, that's a double negative. It's not positive. Being positive that it was a decline. So, and we have our stewardship programs. What are some things? What are some ways to take that message to the consumer? You know, our stewardship programs we had in our previous board were more boots on the ground animal production, where you all are more vertically integrated and get close to the consumer. What are some things you've done or some things you do to push that message to the consumer and help educate them? You've had your meetings before, Dr. French. And
I'll jump in and say something. For the first 30 years of my career, that was done one-on-one in the meat case in the supermarket. I was looking for anybody that would listen to me to explain to them how we raise meat in animal agriculture and how safe it is. And then about 5 years ago, it started escalating as the consumer demand and interest began to be stimulated. And I've found more and more opportunities lately to address groups from purchasing agents for restaurant chains across the U.S. to our company has put together an interactive website with interviews from industry experts. I'm sure some contacts will be made after this meeting for additional people that we can get a hold of to do short videos to explain animal agriculture and the practices that take place to guarantee that we're producing an affordable, safe, and wholesome food supply. So we've tried to find other ways to reach more people. Food bloggers. There's a number of people that get all of their information from food bloggers. So engaging them and inviting them into our operation was a learning experience as well. I think we're continuing to look for ways to reach more and more people through social media and or internet connections and advertising campaigns. But we're trying to get the word out.
Yeah, I think one aspect of my experience is that it is a long communication chain from here ultimately to consumer. And I talked a little bit about who our customer is and who their customer is, which is the end consumer. It's not uncommon for me to be engaged in conversation with our customers. We'll get called in by our sales staff or our corporate communication staff. And what I see is that customer is struggling as much as some others are to really understand this issue. How do I respond to this social pressure? What's true, what's not true? Educate me. I don't want to buy something I don't want to try to put something in my stores that's going to be too expensive, but I don't want to be responsive. So I think they're more in this with us. Quite frankly, they're not the enemy. They're essential to the success of food production because they are our customers. And so I think having good relationships and building trust, always telling them the truth, the good and the bad, whatever it might be, has been an important part because, we need them to be successful or we don't have any place to sell our products. And so I think that part of communication is a little more direct and is somewhere where we could focus, I think, better as food producers and as vertically integrated systems into communication. And then hopefully they can become part of the effort to communicate on to consumers. I think the blogging and all of that is important. I think industry associations and others will probably need to carry some of the water on that because producers and companies don't necessarily have the greatest credibility if we start out that way. So we need other informed players to help with that whole communication process. Bottom line, it's impossible to over-communicate, though. And I do think that it's been said over and over again, we are a minority and it's a complex subject that's hard to get in 125-word messages, 125, character messages. And that's part of this challenge, but we need to figure out how to overcome that challenge.
Great. Do you have any comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have some comments.
Yeah.
There's a reason I love to say that I'm actually from this area and I work with pigs. I think it creates some transparency within the pig industry. I come back home and, you can go to any restaurant and see organic or natural or whatever it is. I go back home to my family, to my friends, and I'm able to they know that I'm being completely honest and transparent about the industry. And I'm able to tell the story. And we need more people like that out there because as if it was noticed earlier, the producers feel like their voice is left out. And so we have to help out the producers. Veterinarians have to help out the producers. People within this industry, we have to be the voice, and we have to connect somehow, whether it's, I actually personally did Operation Main Street, and it was everything from going and doing presentations with city council and explaining about the hog industry, and then going to little schools and, telling kids about, pigs and how a pig is raised. And we have to do more. We have to get the message out there that, we're doing the best we can, we're doing right by these animals, and we are addressing the issues. We all are here because we recognize that there is an issue and we need a solution. We need to band together to help solve, this growing problem of antibiotic usage, antibiotic resistance. And so if we can manage to have more buy-in with every single side and have that message, whether it be through one-on-one at the meat case, because I've done the same thing, actually, believe it or not, picking out bacon with some customers, but or going and having conversations, the presentations, anything, any type of outreach, anything through social media, these bloggers, we've got to do it, and we have to do it correctly where we have a uniform message.
Great. Question in the back.
Yeah, thank you. I want to preface my question with just a couple of comments. Number one, I fully comprehend and understand the large challenge that faces us from an antibiotic resistance standpoint, and also appreciate the many food production choices and options that we have here in this country, as long as they're being done in a manner that is profitable at the farm gate level and allowed to be marketed and or are marketed to our consuming public based upon their positive merits and not by tearing down another segment of the industry. I think that's critically important. With that said, we have a food safety inspection service in this country that works very diligently, I believe, to protect carcasses with any drug residues from entering our food supply. We test every load of milk as it comes off a dairy farm to make sure there are no drug residues in it, so that those concerns are not met by our consumers or found by our consumers when that product ultimately reaches them. With that in mind, do food companies do they help to foster this movement of antibiotic-free, no antibiotics ever, or in their attempts to please the vocal minority, or by attempting to differentiate product or gather more market share?
Yeah, I think that part of it is you try to provide what your customers want. I think honest advertising, clean labels, truthful advertising is critically important, and there is a role for FSIS in controlling what goes on label and maintaining that responsibility. To us, really, it's frankly more about a choice. I think another thing I would say with regard to what RWA production we have, it's imperative that those processes are in place to never compromise animal welfare. Unlike poultry, as Dr. French mentioned, animals that become sick in that system would need treatment will be treated and then pulled out of that program. And sometimes that might involve a whole barn or a whole flow. And sometimes it might involve a few individuals in a flow. So I would tell you, as a producer as large as we are not motivated to disparage any segment of our production by having any premium product or specialty product or anything else. We really need to put all that out there on the playing field with whatever price points that are supported by differentiation in production cost or whatever that might be, and then let the consumer pick. But somebody that produces as much pork as Smithfield does certainly is not motivated to advertise all of the rest of the pork in a negative relationship to some specialized market niche. So we would never want to do that and would never support that.
Yeah, I agree completely with your comment. And it's a concern that I have because in some cases it's outside the hands of the integrated poultry producer. If we're, for example, supplying a retail restaurant chain and they decide to advertise no antibiotics ever and position that as being superior to other ways of managing poultry, then that becomes problematic for me. I don't think it should go that direction. I have no problem with people wanting to serve market niches. I think that's acceptable. I do agree with your comment, though, that it should not throw other aspects of the industry or other meat choices under the bus at the same time. Actually, Dr. Vernon said that very articulately earlier, just before we came up here, and I agree completely with that. It is a major concern that I have, and I think moving forward, if the poultry industry, it seems like the train is just running very fast in the poultry industry. It's left the station and it's moving fast. And as I look at it and I try and figure out where is this going to go, as we're defining our future concerns, our concerns for the future, I would like to think that it will evolve in the poultry industry into 3 different options. I would like to think that there will be a raised without antibiotics or no antibiotics ever. That's probably going to persist. I have some ethical issues with that as a veterinarian, but I think that's going to persist. But they don't want it to ever go 100% raised without antibiotics or no antibiotics ever, because, as someone else pointed out earlier, then they have no market for whatever animals they have to treat. It becomes a real problem for those people that are interested in serving that particular niche. So I don't think it can just be that. I think it's going to be, there'll be some no antibiotics ever or raised without antibiotics. There'll also be no shared class antibiotics group. I see more and more organizations that are supplying school food services and that sort of thing going down that avenue, verifying that they're raised with responsible antibiotic use. And then I see a third, which is going to be the traditional antibiotic program of people that are interested in not using antibiotics unless they absolutely have to, but they're also not interested in filling a market niche saying that they're antibiotic-free. Perfectly feasible to have an antibiotic-free product, but not be pursuing that, but rather pursuing the right thing to do for the animal at the right time. I think all 3 are going to persist. I hope all 3 persist, because I do like the thought of having some consumer choice. I like the thought of satisfying consumer demand. I don't like the thought of advertising at the expense of someone else that might be in a different niche.
So with that said, Dr. Franch, one of the questions we have up here is that I love the new Sanderson Farms ad embracing the value of antibiotics.
What was that again?
I love the new Sanderson Farms ad embracing the value of antibiotics. So part of your ad campaign, what has been the internal and external reaction to that ad?
It's been very interesting for me. I get to see, we actually answer every email we get. And as you can imagine, we get a lot of emails on advertising campaign trying to support our position. I get to see the good. I get to see the negative. I get to see all of them. I don't have to answer all of them myself, but I get to see them all. And there's 2 different, well, there's several different facets of customers that are actually responding by way of email to those ads. There's some that get it completely. They're very supportive. They understand what we're trying to do. There's some that are confused, that are so confused over the term growth-promoting antibiotic, they actually think growth-promoting antibiotic is a hormone. It still gets back to that fact that 8 out of 10 people in the U.S. still believe we feed hormones to chickens when that hasn't been done in 50 years. But I think the terminology, I didn't really think about this until I started reading some of the emails, but the terminology growth-promoting antibiotic is confusing for some of the customers or consumers, and they think, oh, growth-promoting antibiotic must be a hormone. It's promoting growth. We made the mistake of calling it growth-promoting antibiotics years ago. It should have been called health-promoting antibiotics, and then we wouldn't have this issue. But you know, that being the case, there's always going to be some confusion. It's been very interesting for me to see where people are coming from, and a lot of them you're not going to budge at all. They've already made up their mind before they write the response. I've had very interesting conversations actually with some people that I've called back and to answer their emails because whoever was answering the email asked me to give them a call directly. Great conversations with people. They're very concerned. They want to do the very best thing that they can do for their family. And I don't fault that at all. I want to do the very best thing that I can do for my family as well. And in some cases, they're just misguided and misinformed. And just having a conversation with someone or replying to their email, I think, does more to educate than anything else.
Excellent.
It's been well received for the most part.
Great. The last comment on that same question is they hope you'll stay the course on
What's
that. They hope you'll stay the course on
thanks.
there.
Thanks.
So that's good. With that, we're running a little behind schedule. We do appreciate the questions. I'd like to give the panel an opportunity to make one last comment if they'd like to, and then we'll move on, knowing that a lot of the questions that we brought and broached in this talk will be answered, and we'll be addressing those in our next speakers with Dr. Doherty and then with our Bridging the Gap media group later on. So, but I guess we'll start with ladies first. Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, so actually, one thing that is great to hear from Hormel Foods is they like to term this entire antibiotic issue as we're on a food journey. And that's exactly what they say. We're on a food journey. We don't have all the answers. We recognize that there is this concern, especially with consumers, and especially in the science world. I mean, this is a real problem, and so we're on a food journey, and we need to take a look at ourselves. I do every single day. I take a look at myself as a veterinarian and evaluate: am I doing right by the animal? Am I doing right by public health? Am I doing the right thing, for the industry? And so, Hormel is doing a really good job of making sure that they're reevaluating everything and making sure that we're on the right path of this food journey. We don't know exactly where that journey is going to end up taking us. I mean, we can all have our ideas of what our hopes, what the consumer may push, what we may try to push, but we're on a food journey, and we all need to just make sure to kind of hop on the bus together and to really create the voice that we need to be heard as all of these protein industries and with the human side, the animal side, environmental side. And so we're all connected in this world. So, and it's a global topic. And so just with that, keep pushing on with the journey. I know I will. I'm still pretty young in my profession, so I'll probably be here for the next multiple symposiums as we have this, because this is not going to go away with flick of a switch. So we're on a journey together, and we'll have to keep going.
I just repeat what I said at the beginning. This is my first NIAA meeting. I'm one of those people that raised their hand in the back, and y'all were supposed to welcome me on board. So happy to be here, but more than anything else, almost shocked at the fact that there hasn't been a speaker on the panel yet that I haven't agreed with completely. I'm amazed at the consistency of thought within this room, whether it be government, whether it be pharma, whether it be production. I think we're all of like mind. On 95%, maybe more, of the statements that have been made, we're in agreement. And we just need a way to find the best avenue to get that information out to the consumer. If there's one thing that we need in this country is consumer confidence in our food supply. And if that is the most important decision that homemakers are making when they go to the grocery store or whoever's doing the shopping is this product going to be safe and wholesome for my family? And we need to confirm that with them. We need to get the message out. We need to do that as a group. So thanks for letting me be here at NIAA, and appreciate the message of everybody in the room.
Yeah, so I would echo the same thing. It's great to be a part of this conversation, and it's great to have all the different sectors and diversity in the room. I think hopefully you're hearing a consistent message from us that we're all committed to continuous improvement in our businesses, and particularly with regard to animal health. We're motivated, I think, collectively to use less of these products, to be good stewards of them, but to have them remain available when they are needed for therapeutic purposes and to keep our animals with proper well-being and certainly healthy and our food safe. And I think that the underlying goal of agricultural production, animal agricultural production, is to use those tools wisely. I don't think there's any question that this journey that you described that we're on, there's a constancy of change with regard to our businesses and challenges as well as opportunities to fill the growing demand for protein into the future. These tools will continue to be important in that, and I think we also need to be committed to using them properly, not just to have them for our own purposes, but to do the right thing with regard to the whole question of resistance. I think as you go forward, there'll be more objective data on that come out, and we'll have to follow the data wherever it leads us. And I think that certainly we'll all be comfortable with following the objective information. We struggle sometime when the message is being distorted and we're reacting to things that may not be accurate from a technical point of view, but there's no doubt that we all want to do the right thing when it comes to producing safe and wholesome food, and food that's affordable for everyone. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Enjoyed being a part of this conversation.
Thank you. Let's thank our panel.